This program has been made possible by the Citizens for Non-Partisan Civic Engagement, Mesilla Valley Transportation, Southwest Organizing Project, and the Las Cruces Channel Media Network, streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
When you partner with Mesilla Valley Transportation, you can count on a group of hardworking professionals that make sure your freight is secure, handled with care, and delivered on time. We have proudly been moving America's cargo since 1982, starting with local businesses to now transporting for Fortune 500 companies. We invest in the industry's most advanced technology when it comes to dispatching, logistics, and safety. You can trust that our customers are our #1 priority. Every day we drive our company to be the best, and that's why we drive for you.
Hello, my name is Arturo Uribe with the Citizens for Non-Partisan Civic Engagement, and welcome to our New Mexico Election 2020 Candidates Forum. Today we have Representative Nathan Small and Brandi Polanco with Representative District 36. Due to the pandemic, we've had to, it's given us many challenges. As voters, we haven't had the opportunity to meet the candidates, and as the candidates themselves, they haven't been able to really campaign the way that we have normally seen them do. So we are here at the Las Cruces channel, live streaming this on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. On Facebook, you can ask a question, and that's why we're doing this, for you the voters, so that you can have an opportunity to meet the candidates and ask questions of them. The place that we're at in the Las Cruces channel, we are wearing our masks. Because I'm talking, I take mine off. There are partitions in between our commentators and the candidates. We have sanitized the place, the studio, and the studio is a safe set international COVID-19 safe place. So I'm very proud of that, working here in this studio, and we're doing our best to comply with the governor's orders. With that, I would just like to introduce our commentators. Champ.
Hi, my name is Austin Trout, former and future world champion. I'm also just a local Las Crucean who wants to see what our candidates are going to do for us and for our vote. I look at this as a job interview. They wanted us to hire them, so they're going to tell us their skills and what they're capable of doing for us.
Right on. Kelly.
Kelly O'Connell, I'm a local attorney. I was the talk show host at KOBE 1450. Good morning, Las Cruces, AM Las Cruces. And I do a column at Canada Free Press, and at one time I was the piano player at Hotel Encanto for about a year.
All right. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and introduce the candidates. Ms. Polanco.
My name is Brandi Polanco, and I am a teacher with the Las Cruces Public Schools. I'm a mother of 4. My oldest is 26 and my youngest is 10. I've been teaching with the district for 16 years, but I have been involved in the education system for 22. I started off as an educational assistant in the classroom. I've been a coach in the district for almost 20 years, teaching all levels of sports, boys and girls. That's what I do, and I'm passionate about my kids, and I'm passionate about my students.
Thank you. Representative.
Thank you, Arturo. My name is Nathan Small. I'm very proud to represent House District 36 in the New Mexico Legislature. I'm the only legislator representing Doña Ana County solely, serving on the House Appropriations Committee. So I'm really proud to focus on education, on healthcare, on economic development as the key priorities, things that we've been able to make some progress on. We are, of course, going through an incredibly difficult time right now, as a community, as a state, as a nation, as a world, and we have to be dedicated to doing the hard work, bringing folks together to keep fighting through this time and be ready to get through to seize more opportunities.
Thank you. You know, when you look at the district, the voter registration breakdown in your district is 7,804 registered Democrats and 5,092 registered Republicans. But you have independents and we have the map over here that you can take a look at. But we also have 4,704 independent people that did not state. So it's one of those districts that's, you know, depending on how you work it, it's a pretty close district that you could peel off votes as a Republican and win. We've seen some districts throughout these forums that there's just no way for them to win because of the voter registration breakdown. The district is predominantly 67% Mexicano residents. So it's a pretty interesting, diverse district. So I just wanted to share that. We'll go ahead and start with the question. Kelly.
So this is for Brandi. What is the purpose of government, just briefly?
So the purpose of government, I believe, is to support the people and provide ways that we can help take care of one another. I don't believe that the government should rule and conduct and control everything. I think we have in place in the Las Cruces Public Schools, for example, we have a school board who is elected into place to govern our school district, our students and our teachers. But that continues to be overseen from, you know, the higher levels of government. So I don't feel like the government should control from the top down. I feel like we should have a local government. And I don't think that the government's meant to control everyone, but to serve us as the people.
And you think that it's more efficient with local control?
Yes.
And Nathan, what is the purpose of government as far as, you know, just briefly?
Sure, thank you. Government is there to provide essential services, to have clear, safe rules within society, and to promote freedom, to promote opportunity, to provide some of these basic services. And that's where we start talking about education, where we look at the strong role working together with things like Medicaid for health care, for the infrastructure, the roads, bridges, the other parts of our infrastructure, including now increasingly in wireless. That's a part that government has a key role helping to make sure those opportunities and those services are available for all residents. And when we do that, folks have the opportunity to fulfill their best opportunities, to use their freedom, and to be working together to build these really exciting communities, following their own dreams, something that we've worked a lot at here in the state of New Mexico over the past few years to provide more opportunities so that folks growing up don't have to leave. And we need to continue to do things like that.
All right, little follow-up. Reagan said the government is not the answer, it's the problem. Do you see that in any Any application that you could?
You know, thank you. I've been proud to cut regulations in specific areas. There's water innovation that was being harmed by unclear and in some cases overburdensome regulation. So I led a bill that passed unanimously in the House of Representatives with strong support in the state Senate that's brought millions of dollars to New Mexico State University to study the innovation and to provide water and to help clean water in this increasingly difficult time. I think that's a great example. You work with stakeholders, you work to bring more folks together to solve big problems, and that's the way that you get things done. And sometimes that does mean cutting regulations, streamlining rules.
Thank you.
Okay, Jim.
Ms. Polanco, could you tell me what a representative is going to do, what you plan to do for your district?
Thank you for that question. So, first of all, I know that we need to open the economy back up. It concerns me greatly as an educator that our state has been shut down since March 15th. And I am seeing the struggles that are going on in our state right now as far as the education. We were already struggling as a state education-wise. I mean, we're the lowest in the nation. And to keep us shut down has not been the best. As an educator, I see firsthand what's happening. I don't have the resources, and I know that there's several other teachers that don't have the resources to reach and teach these kids the most effective way. And if we could go back to before the pandemic, we still were not testing or ranking at a quality level for our state. I know firsthand what the kids have in the classroom. I know what they're capable of, and it's not happening in our state, but we are very capable of that. So as a representative, I'd like to make sure that we can follow that money to our students. I think we need to open the economy back up. We need less regulation. I would like to see the income tax removed. We're talking about raising the minimum wage, and we need more money back in the pockets of our employees, of these people, of these middle income families that we have here. And so that's what I'm looking at. I don't know that we can support the minimum wage, but we need to get money back in the pockets of our people.
All right. Representative.
Thank you very much. So I think first and foremost, we have to be the best citizens we can be, to model the very best behavior. It's one of the reasons that I'm wearing my mask in here this evening. We just saw the highest number of cases, 172 new COVID cases reporting in Doña Ana County. And I know for myself and so many other folks throughout Doña Ana County, throughout our state, we've had family members who have been in the hospital, who couldn't have anybody in to visit them. These are the kind of continued difficulties and frankly terrible health challenges facing us. First and foremost, we have to do the right thing in getting through this pandemic. Now, as a representative, again, that's first and last. Do the best job you can, model the best behavior. Now, secondly, again, I've talked about it, my focus has been on education, has been on healthcare, has been on economic development and opportunity. And I'm really proud of some of the big steps, including raising teacher pay, the Moonshot for Education, which was one of the largest investments in K-12 education that we've seen in the state, passing legislation to support value-added agriculture. We have an incredible district, and so much of it is connected to agriculture. If we can bring more value back to folks. Again, and when you drill it, when you come all the way back, it's working together with everyone to try and identify big challenges and bring folks together for big solutions.
All right, thank you. And we got a question from the audience that I'd like to share. I believe it's Eileen is asking both the candidates, as our COVID numbers continue to rise in our state, how are you working with the state government to ensure our safety here in Doña Ana County? I'll start with you, Representative.
Thank you very much. Again, first and foremost, we need to take care of our families, of ourselves, to practice the best health practices that we can. And we know now that that means wearing masks. Back in February, the only time that I would foresee wearing a mask this year was when I was going turkey hunting. I now know different. I now know that this is a key way to keep myself, those around me safe. And when you have folks who have gone into the hospital, when you know people who have lost family members, we all have to take this seriously. I was proud to support $400 million for New Mexico small businesses from the state of New Mexico to support folks during this terrible time. Now, with CARES Act funding, folks can visit nmhousing.org to apply for rental assistance, because in the middle of a pandemic, as the weather gets cooler, if folks are going to be kicked out of their homes, that's going to lead to terrible consequences. Similarly, fighting to protect these teacher raises, to fight to protect Medicaid, because people's health care across the board is so essential right now. Those are some of the things that I am continuing to do, and I think we have to be dedicated to doing. When we go out to the local restaurants, if we can, to be able to tip extra, knowing that folks are going through very tough times, to shop locally. Those are just a few of the things that folks out there are doing every single day, and people are stepping up in amazing ways. It's our job to support that, and where the state is involved, to be able to go that extra mile, like with the Small Business Recovery Fund, to do our part.
Ms. Polanco.
Yes, thank you. So I agree with Representative. We need to protect others, but we do need to protect the vulnerable and the elderly. But at the same time, I don't feel like it's okay to be locking up the healthy. Right now, the WHO came out and said that the lockdowns are unhealthy for us, and they've urged all the nations to unlock and get us back going. There's too many. The suicide rate in New Mexico, we're leading the nation in that too. As an educator and as a coach and as a mother, there have been 18 suicides of the athletes this year, and that's not good. To see these kids, I've had conversations with kids. Miss, I'm so depressed I can't do my homework. I've had several conversations. My daughter is 10 years old, and she says, Mom, I miss my friends. You've got teachers that are teaching out of their cars because their family is immunocompromised. You know, this is not the best environment. If we talk about the entire state, keeping the people safe, it's just a very small component of what has to be tackled. We have got mental health, we have got the economy, we've got so many other things. And as a teacher, if I focus just on one concept, I'm failing my kids. So as a governor, you're failing us. We have to look at the big picture. We have to get back to going on what we thrive on as a state.
All right, thank you. Kelly.
Yeah, I want to follow up on COVID. The death rate, from what I understand, is 1% or lower, and I would like to know from both of you what you think we've done right, what we need to change. I know we just talked about that, but some of it seemed a little bit vague. First of all, do you think that we understand COVID, and to the extent that we do, are we maximizing our economy? Are we maximizing our health? Are we keeping people mentally healthy as well as we could? And I'll ask you, Brandi.
Thank you. I feel like initially we didn't know very much about COVID, but as we've had the data and the scientists have come out and we have this information, the CDC has said that 70% of those that wore masks always are still contracting the virus. So how effective are our masks? How much knowledge do we have to how to utilize our masks? And back like you said, what's the death rate? The survival rate is huge. It's been proven that the kids don't transmit that virus, but yet we're harming their mental state and their academic state. And I have grandparents. I have 2 elderly grandparents at home. They've not gone out, but I've taken my precautions when I go in there with them. I keep my distance, but I can't stop living, and they understand that. So there's ways that, we just have to keep going. The economy, we're losing businesses, people are unemployed, and our state just keeps getting further and further behind.
What could we do to make the economy stronger during this crisis?
I think we need to open back up, and I know that the restaurants and all of our small businesses, they know the precautions. We've done this long enough. I feel like the new restrictions, we're moving backwards. Okay, we're not making progress, but yet we're going backwards. Why are we going to go backwards if what we were doing is not working anyways? Right. So.
And Nate, do we understand? And I know you have the mask, which I first thought it said Kroops on it. I apologize, but what is the
We've begun to learn. I mean, we have been on an incredible learning curve as a country, as individuals, as a world about this virus.
How much faith do you put in what we know, what we claim to know? Do you ever wake up and say, I'm hearing something on the news that's different than last week and I feel frustrated?
I put faith in health professionals, in scientists, whether it's Dr. Fauci on down. But folks who have spent I'll be happy to, we're going to learn new things, and I think that's one of the toughest things, right? We expect to know so many things about our world up until this point when there's been vaccines for the flu or for many other ailments. We expect to know what's confronting us. This is totally different. It's already claimed over 1 million people worldwide, almost 250,000 folks in the United States. Those are people who would not have died. And when you start to talk about the death rate, the folks with pre-existing conditions, which here in the state of New Mexico, we have folks fighting diabetes. We have folks fighting a number of conditions that make it unsafe. So I am going to trust the scientists, trust the health professionals, and then do all that I can.
But Nathan, I got to ask you, they're contradicting themselves. But move into what do we do to maximize?
Please go to the cdc.gov, go to the New Mexico Department of Health. Those are the resources for this. And like with the Federal Paycheck Protection Program, the stimulus, the New Mexico Small Business, I've been interrupted multiple times.
I'm trying to redirect it so that we find out exactly what you think. If there is different information, the WHO just said.
The World Health Organization.
I do apologize. But what can we do? I'm trying to get your answer because I know you've been in office.
Do you think what the governor is doing right now and the way that we're moving, I mean, has she consulted with you? Has the governor consulted with you and other representatives, other senators, to get input so that we have ideas on how to open up?
Sure. I frequently share ideas with folks throughout the community.
But is the governor asking you for your input?
The things that we have to do is work to keep folks safe when people are going into the hospital, and we're seeing it now in El Paso, where they're not admitting patients without they're not admitting patients because they're full in some cases. Yeah. We can see a terrible loss of life coming on top of what we have already seen. I go out, I am proud to support local businesses, buying from local restaurants, leaving a good tip when we can, shopping locally, supporting the New Mexico Small Business Fund. There are some things that I disagree with what have been done, but I think what we're seeing in the United States, and when we're seeing with worldwide oil demand, which is so important to our state, if people don't feel safe flying, if they don't feel safe going to a restaurant, the rules aren't going to make somebody go there if they don't feel safe, if their family isn't safe. The safer we keep everybody, the quicker we reopen, the better we stay open, and the more quickly we get back to normal.
And I want to go ahead and give you the opportunity. Do you think the governor has done a good job on handling the pandemic?
I think initially she was, but the most recent restrictions are unnecessary. I'm just going to jump real quick. I know you had mentioned El Paso, those hospitals. I have family members who currently work in the hospitals here locally, and they're not full. And when they do have patients that come in and test positive, they're able to treat them. They treat them and they go home. We're not seeing those results or those instances here locally. Now, as far as, I'm sorry, Arturo, I just lost my train of thought. What was
just that the governor was doing a good job on trying to reopen and...
What was I going to say with that?
Well, the real issue is what do we need to change from what the governor says?
Oh, yes. So we've got restrictions on certain things, and we don't have restrictions on other things. You know, I'm a Christian and I love being at church. I love it. And we're not allowed to do that. There's several people who need to be in church. We've got gyms that are closed. Our student athletes, the state is falling apart. our students now are suffering, and they're voicing their frustrations. And so, no, I don't think that what we're doing right now is best for the people of New Mexico.
All right, Chap.
Well, I want to get off of COVID just for a second. Mrs. Polanco, on your site, it states that you're running because you feel underrepresented and basically you don't feel like your voice is being heard. Do you mind to elaborate on that?
So as a community, I mean, more of that was running as an educator. You know, I started running, I decided to run, I think, at the beginning of January. People were asking me in November. I'm a school teacher. I'm not a seasoned politician. I'm not a career politician. I had no idea what I'm getting into. But you know what? As I continue to move forward through this process, there are things that have concerned me. So when I started, back to your question, I felt like what's happening in our schools is just not okay. So that's kind of where that came from. The money doesn't follow our students. We get paid, our students, I think, anywhere between $13,000 to $17,000 per student comes into our school district. My students can't buy supplies. I can't buy supplies for myself or my students. Where does that money go? You know, our teachers work very hard, and I've seen teachers spend a lot of money just so we can have stuff. So where's the money going? I mean, we've got Mesilla Valley Christian School, who they have $5,000 per head of students over there, and they have a 0% dropout rate. So if he's making, Mr. Foreman is making it work over there, why are we not making it here? So you know, I'm pro-life. That's one of the issues I'm running on. I am school choice. I'm for that. We got to have vouchers. We got to have the money follow students. We've got to have some options.
And just to follow up, as an educator, you know from the ground up what needs to be done to get us out of this trash position as far as education. Yeah.
I do. I feel like I do. I have worked with so many teachers. They're so incredible. And then I've got teachers that, you know, I know teachers like, how are you guys doing over there? I was like, we're good. We're good. And that's because of the leadership. And I am passionate about my students because I have had some phenomenal administrators who know how to motivate kids, and they motivate teachers, and they hold us accountable. So I feel blessed and privileged to have been able to be in those schools and working with those administrators. But still, we still have the money issue. Like our success is, it's got to be citywide, and it's limited to different areas. And we just need to be a model. We're the second largest city in the state, you know, and we got to be a model, and we're not getting there.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
As I've said, the focusing on education, on healthcare, on economic opportunity, those are our core focuses. That's what I've been proud to do. We led the education moonshot, $500 million additional for K-12 education, focused on things like the at-risk index, which is for students, focused on teacher pay. We were seeing teachers leave the profession, both because of pay and because of over-testing. We've increased teacher pay. We were fighting to lower class sizes. Those things require investments. We've been able to make some of those investments. Even during the June special session, when we saw revenues drop 25% due to the bottom falling out of the oil and gas market, we preserved educator pay increases because we know that's critical. We fought to protect schools from seeing cuts. Now, those are the kind of things we have to continue to do, and investing in education, in healthcare, in job creation and infrastructure. That's what we have to keep doing. We face some significant challenges. We have huge opportunities, and we have building from those opportunities, which I'm sure we'll get to talk about when it comes to economic development and other things. That's how we continue to move forward as a community. And I've been proud to support those increased investments in education, in teachers, in job creation that are necessary.
Well, a follow-up question. She says that, you know, there's a lot of money for each student, and you just told me that you've gotten a lot more money basically for the education. Sure. So where's that money going? Why is it not getting to the student? How come there's still, I have had children in the public school, sure, and you know, I've had to buy supplies for sure, numerous children, you know, and it's not just pat my back, it's because they needed it. Yeah. Those school drives are, If those didn't happen, some children would not have any supplies. So where's the money kind of going?
It speaks to the needs that we have as a community in some cases facing really significant poverty. In our work, we have made sure that the increases are for educators, that the administrators, which I think was alluded to by Ms. Polanco, that those salaries don't increase in the way that educator salaries do. We know we need more teachers so that we can have smaller class sizes. And when I talk about the broadband access and this, not only the roads, streets, that infrastructure, this digital infrastructure for folks, that is being felt incredibly acutely now, and we need to continue to work in that front.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We're going to go to a break. I want to say thank you very much for the questions. We'll try our best to get all the questions. I'm encouraging you guys as the candidates to go back on the Las Cruces channel, and there's questions there that you may want to respond to on your website or to them directly, but there are questions coming on Facebook Live. So we'll do our best to get those questions, and thank you very much for tuning in. We'll be right back.
When I think of MVT, I can't help but think of the finest trucking company in the U.S. They provide a driver experience like no other. From regional routes to great pay, they make it a priority to make sure you feel right at home. As a truck driver, there are several companies to choose from, but I decided to drive with MVT, where they have state-of-the-art equipment and the best trucks in the industry, so you arrive at your destination safely and in style. I truly love what I do. After all, I'm proud to be with MVT.
Join the Mesilla Valley Transportation family.
Thank you, and welcome back to the New Mexico Election 2020 Candidates Forum here with Representative Nathan Small and Brandi Polanco. We're going to go ahead and take one of the questions that we got off of Facebook. Jay is asking both the candidates, many of our friends and families have loved ones in the criminal justice system. What will you do to make our communities more inclusive and effective in reintegrating those with criminal backgrounds?
That is a great question. Thank you. I have been active in the church, and I know that we can go into the facilities and we talk to them. I feel like we need to have opportunities for them to get out into the public. And I'm not familiar with a lot of it, but I do know that I don't think they need to be abandoned or feel left out. I think it's important to have that family connection. I don't have any family members there. I did, but I know that they need to be involved, and so I'm not sure what else I could do. I would like more input on that. give me what I can do to help and support that cause. I know it takes a community and these relationships need to be built. So there's areas that I'm not familiar with, and I would love input and suggestions to move forward with that.
Representative.
Thank you. First we need to make sure that we have the law enforcement resources that keep all of us safe. That's why I've been proud to support more police officers in the city of Las Cruces, more state police officers at the state level. Also, we need to make sure not put people into the criminal justice system, criminalizing them, putting them behind bars for things like cannabis possession. Decriminalizing cannabis, looking at legalizing recreational cannabis with strict guidelines, protecting all New Mexicans, driving out the illegal market. That will keep more folks who don't belong in the criminal justice system from ever going in there. It's part of the investment in schools with guidance counselors and other things. So to avoid folks having to go into that. When folks are violent, when there are violent crimes that are out there, we need to make sure we have the law enforcement resources to catch them, to put them behind bars, and to look at rehabilitation, moving away from things like private prisons that have a built-in profit incentive to put more people behind bars. And the more likely someone goes behind bars, the more likely it is for them to stay involved in the criminal justice system, costing all of us. These are all ways, and we've been able to make some important steps, including when folks have paid their full debt to society to make sure that they can participate in the full expression, including the citizens who are voting once they have completed that full repayment and restitution. We have some good blueprints. We know it's going to take a lot more hard work. This is work that brings folks together across the aisle, and I've been proud to be involved with it and really committed to continuing.
I appreciate what you say there, because one of the things that working with Austin and educating our community and this voter expo that we did, in the community, a lot of people did not know that felons have the right in New Mexico to get that right back to vote. There's two rights they take away from you: the one to, carry a gun, and then the right to vote. And just like you said, once they're off paper and they paid their debt to society, they do get their right to vote. And I think that's a really good start and a great accomplishment that we have here in New Mexico.
Absolutely.
Kelly.
Okay, so now Nathan, you had kind of, I think, commented that I was interrupting you, but I felt like you were being a little bit evasive. I want to know what the heck is wrong with Doñana that we have so many empty business buildings. What can we do to build a better business environment so that people come in here and know they can open a business, have a shot at making it? We've got hundreds, you have to admit, hundreds of empty business buildings in this city, right?
We are facing...
I'm asking you a straightforward question.
We are facing tremendous economic harm here in Doñana County, across the country. We need to have people who have money to be able to participate in that. In some of those cases, we've seen things like the Paycheck Protection Program.
I was asking you, though, just to answer the question of whether we have a lot of, like, hundreds of empty business buildings in this town. Is that true?
We have a number of...
Anybody who drives around knows that, but here's the question. What can we do to make this more business-friendly and get away from this idea that we're on the top of a list, or we're on a list of places that it's the hardest in the country to open up? And you present yourself as moderate. You want businesses to grow here. So
as we have done in some of these key areas, right? So expanding trade. Our trade with Mexico has expanded at a very rapid rate. That not only builds businesses down on the border, that supports folks in District 36 who sometimes export those products. We're looking to add value to these agricultural products, including in areas like meat packing and others, which is why I passed the Value Added Agriculture Act to bring state financing and add additional opportunities there. As we continue, New Mexico has the most to gain from renewable energy. That's why I was proud to pass the Energy Transition Act. It's going to bring thousands of jobs to New Mexico, leading to that.
Just briefly, though, we're next to Texas, Colorado, and Arizona, and they're flourishing at times that we're not. What's the difference?
We're bringing increased investment here to Doñana County. I can go through a number of those different areas. When we look at things like legalizing recreational cannabis, building on the attributes that we have, whether it's value-added agriculture, whether it's our incredible open spaces, whether it's our trade opportunities, whether it is our work with New Mexico State University, and the millions that we brought in through the Produce Water Act to bring more innovative water technology. Those are all things that I've been proud to do. The work that needs to continue as we move forward.
Would you put a bill together too? We just want to.
Well, let's go ahead and ask Brandi the same question.
Same question, Brandi.
All right, so I think we need to make New Mexico a business-friendly state, people, so that they can prosper here in our state. Because as it is right now, we can't prosper because we are over-regulated. We have got state-level gross receipt tax that are double, triple of what they should be. There needs to be less regulation. We're just over-regulated right now. We got to oppose those government mandates and allow businesses to make decisions that will allow for maximum growth to be profitable, and we're not doing that.
How do we find the regulations that are bad and separate them from the good? Because we all agree we need some regulation.
I feel like maybe less regulation. There's got to be less regulation.
So Trump said, "You give me, you want a regulation here. We'll get rid of 2 regulations if you want your regulation to come in." He had some idea like that. What do you think about something like that?
I haven't heard that from him. I'm not I can't follow all the news because I'm busy trying to teach out.
Well, how about the idea that we boil down the regulations and figure out a way to get rid of the bad ones?
Because there's some regulations, like environmental regulations, that we do need. But then, there's just extra things that they're putting on. For instance, I try not to make much money in New Mexico because I get taxed. So I try to make all my money outside the state. Straight up.
Yes, that gross
if they need
tax.
some legal representation.
That's fine, but they can't tax me anyway. But the thing is, I would love to, and I have. I've opened up a couple of businesses in New Mexico, but that was out of necessity, not necessarily out of, if I had a choice, I would have gone to El Paso. So how can we make it so people can say, no, I will open up right here in New Mexico, Las Cruces, and not go 30 minutes away to get the less regulation and the better chance for having a profitable business?
Yeah. So one of the things that...
I'm happy to answer as well, because this is a good dialogue about an important subject.
Absolutely.
Well, here's one issue, economic development. We've got the spaceport. As Doña Ana residents, New Mexico residents, we taxed ourselves to build a spaceport in New Mexico under the Richardson administration. But then we came back and we were asked as Doña Ana residents, Sierra County and Otero County, to run a special vote to determine if we would tax ourselves another 0.25%. That deal is about ready to expire. Would you continue allowing Doña Ana residents to pay that 0.25% tax?
That is a very good question, Arturo. Thank you for that. And I've thought about this one a lot because as an educator, I have had opportunities to take kids out there and to see what's going on. And they are so excited about, the space travel and the business. So I'm torn. I'm really torn with that. I know that we have given money to them, but it's got to be a point where enough's enough. Either you've got to live, you got to thrive and make this on your own, because we cannot keep supporting you. That's like having my 30-year-old son keep living in my home. I can't keep supporting you. You got to get on your own. You got to get on your feet at some point. So I would hate to see it go, because I think it's a great educational opportunity, and I think it's a great opportunity for tourism, and we could bring money into our state. But if it can't thrive on its own, we're not going to keep giving you the money to do that. So that, and then we need transparency too, because you're using our tax dollars. If we can't have those things, then maybe you don't belong here.
And we've had tremendous issues with the spaceport in regards. I think they just fired their executive director. But what are your thoughts there, Representative?
So the money that's dedicated for capital and infrastructure should only be used for that. It should not be used for operations. It was wrongly used. There has rightfully been changes, and that must not continue to happen. I think when we look at a fair tax system, that's an example when a tax that citizens voted for being used for a purpose it wasn't set out there for. That's not fair. In the same way, we need to look at lowering our gross receipts tax, but we can't also at the same time take away all the income tax, protect things like the capital gains tax deductions. Folks who are invested in the stock market or who have a trust fund get taxed less than folks who are working hard day to day. There are some fairness pieces there, including removing these some of these unnecessary deductions, exemptions, and credits that allows us to lower the overall tax rate, create a more fair, easier to implement tax system, and to encourage folks to flourish. And as we've talked about, when we look at bringing investments, and again with the water innovation at New Mexico State, we're bringing millions of federal research dollars there that's going to help us not only in Doña Ana County as we look to use brackish water to serve whether it's industrial purposes or others. That's going to help us in southeast New Mexico as we look at the waste products that's coming from oil and gas. Taking folks and bringing people together, not breaking them apart, that's what we have to do.
Okay, we got another question from Facebook. And Michael asked both candidates, do you support New Mexico's electoral votes being given to a presidential candidate who might not win the majority or popular vote within the state of New Mexico? And Representative.
Thank you. I think it's important that the president represent and reflect New Mexico's values. That's why we all have to get out and vote. That's why I really appreciate this forum. I think the national popular vote is an appropriate way to have somebody who represents New Mexico, who represents the country, and that's what I support.
So you support pure democracy as opposed to the Electoral College?
I think what we have seen
That's a yes or no.
what we have seen is that there are folks in power right now wanting to take away democracy. I don't support that. I do support democracy.
That's an opinion, but do you support direct? I mean, Electoral College is meant to diffuse the power away from the biggest states. You want to give away our power to the New York or California?
I strongly support New Mexico having a place in the presidential election. We've been looked over because of our low number of electoral college votes. There is much more ability for New Mexico to have a robust role in picking the next president, in having every New Mexican's vote counted by going to the national popular vote, which allows us more democracy, more representation, and so I do support that.
Right. Ms. Polanco.
Thank you for the question. No, I do not support it. I believe that we need to keep the Electoral College. I don't think that we need California or New York speaking for New Mexico. They cannot understand what's going on over here. The population, I can't even imagine what they triple, double, and they're so much bigger than we are. We'll end up having no voice. So no, I do not.
So you do not support the Electoral College?
She does.
I
Okay.
do, yeah.
She does.
Okay. All right. All right. Kelly.
All right, so let me ask you this. What's the most important thing about this election for you, briefly?
The most important thing about this election is that everybody exercises their right to vote. That is a
Why
sacred...
should we vote for you, though?
As I have been talking about, what I am really proud of is bringing people together to build bipartisan solutions on things that affect us all. Getting more investment in education, bringing more support for health care, making sure that New Mexicans have not only affordable health care, but accessible health care so they can get to their doctor, they can get an appointment in a reasonable amount of time. Bringing more economic opportunity by investing in these new technologies and building on our strengths when it comes to value-added agriculture, water research, renewable energy. Those are all things that I've been proud to be part of bipartisan, strong efforts at the state level to help bring that leadership, to bring investment back to Doña Ana County, back to District 36, fighting flooding problems in the Hatch Valley and on the East Mesa, getting more folks onto sewage as opposed to septic tanks so that they're not dealing with some of these terrible infrastructure issues. And that's the kind of bipartisan work, bringing folks together, I'm dedicated to. That all depends on everybody exercising their right to vote. It's such an important election. Our health care, and as we've seen so many of these areas, please exercise your right to vote and do it safely.
All right, Ms. Polanco.
What?
The question that
Why should we vote for you?
Okay, I thought that was a question. I want to make sure. I believe that servant leadership is first and foremost in this position. I completely understand that being a teacher because I serve my students and I serve my community as an educator. So I understand what it's going to take to be a servant of the people and be a voice of the people. I look to preserve, protect, and prosper New Mexico as the next representative. And I don't understand how we can continue with the whole idea of throwing money at the problems that we have in this state, and that's going to resolve them, because it's not going to resolve them. We need a change. We need to change what's happening, and just putting money out there for things is not changing what's happening in New Mexico. We're going in the wrong direction. So we need a change in the way things are going. We need a comprehensive change in many areas. So that's where I'm at.
So if money is not the answer, what is the answer? Because money seems to be the answer to everything.
Well, I mean, I can take this back to education again. We keep putting money, we keep saying we have money here, we have money there, but it's not fixing anything. We've got money and you know, it's not fixing things for us. So we need to go back and we need to talk to the teachers and we need to talk to the community and the families, you know, and our administrators. What can we do to make this better? Where do you need the support? I believe that the money should follow the student also, because if we have a supply and demand, we've got a better school here, then, you know, kids, we're going to up the ante a little bit. So, and I think that's in every aspect of the state. You know, we've got the jobs, we've got the economy. There's so many areas that need work.
I mean, what about the police? They get about $25 million a year. Do we need to give them some more money?
I don't know that we need more money. I think they just need more support. We need to make sure that they're getting the support that they need.
What kind of support? I'm sorry to cut you off, but what kind of support do they need?
You know, training, if they feel like there's training, if they need, you know, resources for the training, if we need more officers. I haven't talked to the police force. I'm aware of what's happening, but I feel like we just need to look at a lot of issues right now.
All right. I just want to ask, and you talked about infrastructure needs in the district. We have the Colonias Infrastructure Trust Fund, the Colonias Initiative. Every year we go up there and they try to take that money. We share it with the tribes. Are you aware of the Colonias Initiative and the Infrastructure Trust Fund, and do you support it, and will you continue to support it? If you do.
I do support it. I believe that it was created to help the infrastructure, have money for that. But, you know, I think that we need to have the communities prioritize what they want to spend that money on. I think they need to have community input on what they want to spend the money on. And I think we need to look at the long-term goals. How are we going to help them thrive in their community? They need the input. That's their money for their community. So I do support it. I don't anticipate them losing it. I feel like, you know, that's, I don't know. I hope they don't, because they need that. You know, those are our small communities that have been forgotten.
Thank you. My first year in the legislature, there were proposals to gut the Colonias Infrastructure Fund and the Tribal Infrastructure Fund, to take that money from these dedicated areas and to put it in other parts of state government. I fought that. We fought it successfully. I will continue to fight that. Because when somebody can't wash their hands in parts of New Mexico because they don't have running water, when people's street, and this is in District 36 that I represent, when people's streets run with water because they're a private road, we brought funding for those in those areas. If anything, the Colonias Infrastructure Fund and the Tribal Infrastructure Fund, because this is where those health effects, this is where when folks can't get to school, they can't get internet, they have to rely on things like propane, they can't have other sources of heating that's so cost prohibitive. These are the things that hit people daily in their lives and make it so difficult for folks to make that progress. Now, I am so proud that people fight even against those overwhelming challenges. Things like the Colonias Infrastructure Fund, the Tribal Infrastructure Fund, the moonshot investment in education that we've made, those are necessary to overcome those challenges, and they benefit us all. The fewer folks who are in the criminal justice system, the less we are paying as a society, the more folks who are building businesses, building their best lives here. That's the kind of work that we have to continue to do.
And just, you know, the Colonias Initiative was created through communities and the citizens that did put together a plan, and what came of it was the Infrastructure Trust Fund. So there was priorities that came from community members, and it's a tremendous success, but because of the money, we have to protect it for our community down here. With that, I want to go ahead and allow you guys to ask each other a question. If Ms. Polanco, you'd like to ask Representative a question.
Okay, thank you. So, Representative Small, you worked for an environmental organization before joining the legislature. Since being elected, you've sponsored the Energy Transition Act, a bill that you will drastically increase utility costs. You voted for tax credits for solar panels on houses and gave aways for purchasing expensive electrical cars. Both tax giveaways only benefit the wealthy. So it appears that you are still working for New Mexico Wilderness Alliance instead of the people. So how do tax giveaways for wealthy New Mexicans and energy requirements that will just drastically increase utility bills help the working families of our district?
Thank you. The Oregon Mountains Desert Peaks National Monument that I was proud to work on was before the pandemic, bringing thousands, tens of thousands of new people to Doña Ana County. It's helping bring investment. It's preserving the places that people love to go. And whether you're like me and a hunter, I harvested a mule deer out in the Desert Peaks part of the monument last year. These are public lands that are important to us all. And I'm proud of the work safeguarding those areas, promoting their use for local residents, and bringing investment to come in. I'm also very proud when we look at the cheapest source of energy to power our home, and it shouldn't be a surprise to us, right? It's actually wind and solar that are the cheapest forms of energy. That is why we're seeing a market-driven transition all across the country and the world to these renewable, plentiful, very cheap sources of energy. We see many new jobs coming to our community working in those areas, investment coming to New Mexico State. And I love the fact that when we had the chance to knock on doors, going to represent folks throughout this community, when they had a solar panel, you didn't know what party they were. As we work to bring that energy that is now the most affordable energy that will bring increased investment to our region, those just make sense for our pocketbook. They help grow our economy, provide exciting ways to innovate in energy efficiency connected back to New Mexico State. So I'm dedicated to continue working in those areas.
All right, Representative, you have an opportunity to ask Ms. Polanco a question.
Thank you. You know, I think the most pressing issue that so many of us face right now, one of the most pressing issues, is keeping folks safe. You seem to dismiss the science behind wearing masks. You seem to dismiss the fact that rising COVID numbers will lead to more hospitalizations, threatening people, regardless of party. It doesn't matter what party you belong to. These things that threaten people's health, that reject the best science that's nonpartisan, that folks are working on to keep folks safe while we develop a vaccine, I struggle with what question comes from that. I guess the question is, what do you say to those folks who get sick because they haven't had the opportunity to take advantage of some of these precautions? What do you say to them when they're all alone in that hospital room and you're here dismissing the science behind keeping people safe?
It's a virus. We can't control the virus. You know, Dr. Fauci has gone back and forth. Wear the mask. Don't wear the mask. Wear the mask. Don't wear the mask. So how do we know that they got sick from wearing their mask? There's no way to tell. The World Health Organization has said we've got to stop the lockdowns. You know, we need to open back up. We need to focus on trying to get herd immunity. We need to open back up for what's good for our state, the overall good of the state.
All right, thank you. And thank you to the viewing audience for your questions. We can't ask all the questions, but I am encouraging both of you guys to go back, check out Facebook Live, and there are questions there that you may want to answer. This is, the forum is for you, the voters, and for us to be able to engage with the candidates because of due to this pandemic. And like I said, we are in a safe environment. I know I'm not wearing my mask, but I am socially distancing. I wear my mask when I'm not speaking, and so are all of us here. With that, I just want to say it is a risk. You know, Representative, you were very concerned about coming here, and I really appreciate you coming out. But running for office is a risk. You know, it's tough, and you got to do some things that maybe you feel uncomfortable, like calling people for money. But coming here and engaging with us so that we have an opportunity, because of this pandemic, where we don't see you in the community, where you're not knocking on doors, where you're not available to us, the voters, well, this is a space that we can do it. And I really do appreciate you both coming here today. I wish you both good luck with your campaign, and thank you very much. If you want to go ahead and ask for your the voters for their votes, go ahead.
Briefly.
Okay, again, thank you. I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you, gentlemen, very much. It was exciting to be here, and I'm glad that I got to interact. President Small, thank you for coming. I would appreciate your vote, and if you need information, you go to my website, and stay safe out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Representative.
Thanks. You know, the opportunity that we must seize to keep folks safe while we grow our economy, safeguard investments in education, in infrastructure, these are things that bring us together. I am dedicated to continuing the work that brings folks together, that successfully passes legislation in our legislature to raise teacher pay, to fund water innovation, to support value-added agriculture, renewable energy, and these other areas. And I'm dedicated to helping fight with everybody to stay safe during this unprecedented time. We have to look and not politicize science, not politicize these steps that keep us and our families, our loved ones, people we may not even know, that keep them safe. Let's work to do that together, and then work to support each other as best we can. And that starts shopping locally, supporting restaurants with that tip if we can. It expands when we have the privilege of representing folks in office, to working together, being dedicated to bring the best information to solve problems. At nathanpsmall.com, that's where you can see some of the work that I've been proud to do in that area. Also, I know folks are facing challenges with rent and other things. nmhousing.org, gonm.biz, or other resources for folks in our community. Thank you.
And again, thank you both, and I appreciate you guys coming out. Good luck on your campaign.
Thank you, guys.
With that, I want to go to our commentators and to the viewers out there. I saw some frustration with both you guys. So, Kelly, I mean, how are you feeling?
I felt, I mean, anybody who knows Nathan, he's a likable guy and smart guy. But I felt like when he was addressing the questions, it was a little bit vague. I felt frustrated. I wanted more direct answers. I felt like he wouldn't give them, so I was pressing him. He felt like he wasn't being given the opportunity to answer. But, you know, we got an hour, so I wanted him to answer directly, so we had direct answers to these issues. And I mean, people are scared out there right now with COVID, but there's other people who are losing their businesses, and they look around and it doesn't add up to them how the masks and the rules are being treated.
And Austin, I saw a little bit of frustration there with you too.
Well, the same thing as Kelly said, just it seemed like a lot of beating around the bush and not addressing the question, not answering the question. And I think that's a little bit for both sides. You know, I feel like there's a lot of questions that were even left unanswered, even after, you know, the pressing of, look, this is the question answered. So, but at the same time, though, I do feel like they both are passionate about this job. They really want to serve, which is, you know, it's good to know. They're not here to be the boss. They're here to be the servants.
Yeah. But I felt it also. Not as much as you did, Kelly, but I do understand what you're saying. I mean, we're sitting here asking questions that are really could be answered in 30 seconds.
Right.
But they tell a story. They explain a narrative that really doesn't bring me.
There was a lot of cliches used.
Yeah. I mean, for me as a voter, you know, you're looking at the candidates, and you know, you see a mom, a teacher. She had, you know, she was rooted with the community, with our youth, and then you see, an incumbent that you almost, the cliche, like you say, you know, he's a polished politician. He knows how to not answer the question. Buy
local. Like I heard this buy local, and there were like 20 or 30 cliches that he threw out there, and I thought, is he really interacting with the question?
Yeah, and I think that's where I feel, you know. I think well, go ahead, Austin.
I don't want to make it seem as if I'm leaving this debate not understanding where each one stands. I think they made it really clear where they stand and what they want to do for us. There was a few questions that I think they avoided.
Well, I mean, what were the big differences?
The big differences, well, opening up, and you know, I think small is more for keeping this slow trickle of an opening. Yeah. Whereas I feel like Ms. Polanco, she wants to open it up now, and they both have the same point that they're trying to make. The experts are saying. He's saying, I trust the experts who are saying this. She's like, I trust the experts that are saying the same this. You know, we should open up. He's saying we shouldn't, and it's true. The experts have been telling us everything under the sun. We don't know what to do.
I was a little disappointed when I was asking him as our representative that, you know, does the governor consult with you on this
And
lockdown?
he didn't want to answer.
And he never answered.
What about when I asked him, are there not hundreds of business buildings that are just empty in this town? Why couldn't he say, yes, I do understand that. It's something we got to work on. That frustrated me.
Yeah, I mean, and people are making memes of these buildings. I just saw one the other day that there's a building right there where my brother's place is in between Amador that sat there and said, I want a relationship as long as this building has not been fixed.
That's crazy. In that particular building, it was like getting renovated, and then they just stopped. Yeah. It's just been sitting there. But that's a common occurrence.
He's in power. He's reluctant to admit that there's any problems with the approach of the Democrats, maybe. But be honest, we got an hour to talk about who you really are and what you really believe. I thought she won on just the level of being open and transparent.
Yeah.
I mean, this is for you. You guys get to decide. Early voting has started. We're voting right now in different places other than the Doña Ana County building. So we've been giving information on the clicker on the bottom. But get out and vote. This is our last forum. We're going to be meeting and coming together again on Monday with our commentators to have this discussion, to see what came out of it, to talk about the candidates that came. And we really appreciate all those candidates that did show up. We had 1 week where the candidates did not show up. Carrie Hamblin, Willie Madrid, didn't even bother to come to try even to engage with us. I think that's sad.
That's shameful, isn't it?
I think that's very sad. We are all taking risks, but the biggest risk of all right now, in my opinion, is not being educated, informed, and getting out to vote. We may not be able to change the country, but we can try to change our county. So thank you, the viewing audience. We'll see you next week. It should be a really fun show with all the commentators talking about this past series of forums. Remember, live to vote and vote to live. Thank you very much. I want to thank our sponsors, Mesilla Valley Transportation, Southwest Organizing Project, and the Las Cruces Channel. Good night.
Of MVT, I can't help but think of the finest trucking company in the U.S. They provide a driver experience like no other. From regional routes to great pay, they make it a priority to make sure you feel right at home. As a truck driver, there are several companies to choose from, but I decided to drive with MVT, where they have state-of-the-art equipment and the best trucks in the industry, so you arrive at your destination safely and in style. I truly love what I do. After all, I'm proud to be with MVT.
Join the Mesilla Valley Transportation family.